Well, hey everybody, this is the Bedbug Guy, and I am broadcasting live from the northeast slope of Florida's second tallest mountain. If you're here watching me live, please enjoy the comedy as I stumble through getting this done for the very first time, as I struggle to share my screen and just let alone try and do things right. The cats are out here with me today, so you may see one or all of them or hear them meowing and whatnot. You can just enjoy that. If you're not a subscriber, I invite you to please hit the subscribe button, as it is feeling lonely these days. And today I thought I'd talk about the Saqqara Bird. And let's try and share the screen and figure out how I can do that. And the Saqqara Bird is this right here. Little tiny object, and I first heard about it when how do you unshare that? I first heard about it during a episode of Ancient Aliens. That would be season 1, episode 2. And at this point, I had never heard of it, and I had been into Egyptology for the greater part of 20 years by that point. So the way they presented it was the Saqqara bird is a small wooden bird, and it's in the Cairo Museum. And here, let me share that back again, because it's pretty good. Whoops, wrong one. See, watch as I try and go through it. Let's go back to that. Okay, it's a little bird right there. Yep. And the way they presented it was found in the tomb of someone called Padi Eman back in 1899. And next to it was a little papyrus fragment that had the words on it, "I want to fly." And what makes this artifact unique is, if you look at it, and I don't know how to get it to zoom in, oh my goodness, on the very back, the tail has a vertical tail fin, as opposed to other birds around the world, which, as far as I know, no bird on this planet has a vertical tail fin. But most modern aircraft do. Whoop. And this may indicate that they had some flight knowledge, or they were working on it, or this is a model of something they'd seen, an airplane, because it definitely looks like one. And it culminated with them doing, somebody built a scale model, they put it in a wind tunnel, put the data in a computer, and found out if it had a vertical tailplane or horizontal tailplane, that it would be an okay glider. Okay. And that it would work. And they said, because it has these notches on the tail, that it could have had that vertical tailplane on it. Okay. I saw that and I went, wow, that is cool. They said, is this possible evidence of ancient Egyptians having advanced knowledge from extraterrestrials, or they saw extraterrestrial aircraft flying around? Ancient astronaut theories say yes. And every time they say that, I always think to myself, really? Everybody said yes? There wasn't one guy sitting there going, you know what, guys, I don't know, maybe. I don't think everybody universally agrees, but anyway, I just thought that was funny. So I decided, since I have a lot of time these days and I can get back into talking about Egyptology, and nobody in my life wants to talk about it, I have this YouTube channel, so I have an outlet for all these things. And I said, I want to make a video about that, because after hearing all that, I have some ideas and I wanted to share them. So to prep for the video, I decided to do some research. And my cardinal rule of research is, don't trust anything the History Channel presents as actual fact. Look into it yourself. So we go back. I said, well, I'm not going to worry about the Ancient Aliens research. Let me find the OG on this. Who's the original person? And that person is Khalil. He's an Egyptian, a physician, a dowsing specialist. Okay. And that's where you hold the two rods and walk around on the ground. You can find water and gold and voids and ghosts and whatnot. And he is also a bird and flight enthusiast, and he's into metaphysics. Okay. And he saw this artifact in the Egyptian Museum. How do you get out of there? Gosh darn it. And he looked at it and said, boy, this is like a bird or an airplane. Look at that vertical tail. And he ended up writing a book called, African Experimental Aeronautics, a 2,000-year-old glider, where he talks about this. And in the book, he gives the same. As a matter of fact, he appeared on the show to talk about this, about the tomb of Padi Eman, the papyrus, and whatnot. Okay. So that's where it comes from. I don't have to trust the History Channel. So I decided to look into it and do some research. So first thing I'll tell you, the archaeologist that found it was Victor Loret, and he found it in 1899 excavating near Saqqara. So what's the first thing we want to look at? Let's look up this tomb of Padi Eman, okay? So let's find that. All right, let's show that. I want to get it so that I can look at it. Okay. Look at it. You see Padi Eman was the Egyptian tomb that was excavated in 1898 and contained the Saqqara bird. Okay. Now, if you look throughout this, any search on Padi Eman, that's all it says every time. But when I saw this, I noticed something else that jumped out to me. Okay. And I'm going to show you what I mean. So I'm going to show you something else. Okay. If we go and we look up the Sabu disk, okay? I'm going to show you the Wikipedia version. And you look, Sabu disk, ancient Egyptian artifact found by Walter Emery, North Saqqara necropolis in Mastaba S311, the grave of an ancient Egyptian Sabu, after who it's named. Okay? Now this is interesting. You have to remember that. Mastaba S3111. Here's the deal. Everything in Egypt, every monument, every grave, every object has got an inventory designation. Okay? Like if you look up King Tut, it's KV63 or something like that, and Sabu was Mastaba S311, they log everything. It's been that way for a long time. Even from your lowest grave up to the biggest tomb, it's got an inventory designation. So with Padi Eman, anytime you research, there's nothing. Okay. Also, nothing about the papyrus. Now, that's interesting because every papyrus document that's ever been found in Egypt is viewed as very valuable and very important. And you would always be able to find a picture of it. It's always logged. It's either named after the place it found. My cat just fell off the table, sorry. Or it's named after the person that bought it, essentially, because back in the day, it was the wild, wild west of antiquities, and a lot of wealthy Europeans would buy these papyrus documents off of anybody that had them, basically on the black market. The papyri will be named after the person who originally bought them and found them, or the place that they're found. Like the Merer papyrus is called the Al-Jarf papyrus because that's where it was found. The Rind mathematical papyrus is named after Rind, who bought it. And he's got a bunch of papyruses named after him. Nothing about this papyrus. Okay. So now we have to go back to the OG. Where did he get this information? Because obviously I'm missing something. And Messiah cites the Egypt Travel Magazine, number 153 from 1973. Okay. So we can go back and look at Egypt Travel Magazine, number 153. So let me go and find that. Sure. There it is. Oh, and look, it's 1969. It's not 1973. And as it turns out, in this magazine, this particular issue from 1969, number 153, there's no mention of the Saqqara Bird or Padiman or anything. And as this is one of the last issues that they produced, okay, and they didn't publish him in the 70s. So, I mean, it's possible he got the issue wrong, but nobody has come forward to say that any of them mentioned this. Okay. So, might not be a big deal. He is Egyptian. He probably has some access. Where else could he gotten this information? So, Victor Loret found it in 1899, and he was excavating Giza. He found a lot of stuff. So what we can check is maybe if we go to Loret himself, okay, because his excavation notes would have been published. So we can go and find, hopefully everybody can read French. There it is. Now I'll save you the trouble. If you want to have it translated, you can find it. Okay. It's Heidelberg Historic Literature digitized. Here's the problem. In his excavation notes, he does not mention the Saqqara Bird or Tomb of Padiman or this papyrus. Okay. So that is super weird. Now, so obviously I know he found it, but apparently wasn't noteworthy. He didn't log where he found it or the context that it was in. That's a little odd. So what else can we check? Because this Padiman tomb is only mentioned in connection with the Saqqara Bird. There's no inventory number for his tomb, and there should be. There's no other pictures, photographs, anything about it. Nothing about this papyrus. The bird's real. It's in the Cairo Museum. Excuse me. Okay, so this information had to come from somewhere. And nothing until this travel magazine, which apparently didn't even mention it. And up to that, nothing until Messiah published his book, and then Ancient Aliens, and then every other content creator has done a variation of it, either for or against or add their ideas, which is great. What else can we check? Because in the 90s, when Messiah would have been looking into this, none of these people were alive. There is one more place that you can check, and that is the Registration, Collection, Management, and Documentation Department of the Egyptian Museum. And it's not online. You physically have to go there. Lucky for us, people have done this once or twice and looked up. So now this would be the original, everything they knew about it when they received the object, everything that was told to them. Here's the shocking part. We know Victor Loret found it somewhere by Saqqara. It dates to 200 BC, so it's Ptolemaic. It's some sort of falcon. They list it as a wooden toy. It's made of sycamore. That's it. Nothing else. No Padiman, no papyrus. They don't even know where the heck he found it at Saqqara. But it's definitely real, and it's definitely Ptolemaic. So for factual information, that's all I can present. Unknown where this other information come from. So as far as I can tell, there's no Padium tomb in Saqqara, no papyrus associated in there that says, I want to fly. Nothing like that. It's just a wooden bird. Okay, so that's one aspect. But what I really want to talk about, that doesn't excuse the fact of what it looks like. Okay, it's definitely got that vertical up and down tail. Definitely has wings. What about the tests they did? Okay, so I looked in and tried to find out if there was any documentation for that test they did with the building the model and running their computer simulation. My cat is just going nuts. This is great. Where they said it got 4 times the lift, and if they put a tailplane on it, would have made a okay glider. Definitely ancient astronaut theorists agree they had fundamental understanding of flight when this toy bird was made. Okay, so I looked it up. Well, as it turns out, the only documentation you get is if you watch that episode. But interestingly enough, I found, I believe this is it. This is it. This is a scientific, peer-reviewed study from the University of Applied Scientists, Facility of Nature and Engineering Institute of Aerospace Technology in Bremen, Germany. And it is Michael Zero and Leon Lesseman. And they did a scientific test of this bird. And you can read through it. You can link and figure out how to put that in. But you can read through this. It was done in 2022. It was revised in 2023 and accepted in 2023. And what they did, if you read through it, is they did a complete, accurate 3D scan of this bird, rendered it exactly in a computer, and ran some tests. Okay? And this, all the neat stuff that they went through, and I'll give you some high points if you want to read it. Okay, the first one, this has to do with, okay, you couldn't launch this particular artifact by hand. It doesn't have a good lift coefficient. So if you read Scientese, here's another one. The center of gravity is in the wrong place. But here's the interesting part, and that is the wing. Okay? This is the actual 3D model of the wing shape. Here is a real wing shape. Okay? As you can see, it could get a marginal bit of lift, but no, it's going to be, it won't lift enough. It's too unstable. You can see these are radically different. This is the Saqqara Bird here. This is a modern aircraft wing. They don't even look similar. It's more rectangular. You're not going to get a lot of lift. Here's another thing they tested. If you look, the wings are not symmetrical either. And at the very ends, they're thicker where they shouldn't be. Okay, and they did different tests of different angles of attack. And they found that it's got asymmetric pressure and lift distribution, okay? So, look, here's more tests of that wing. You can see where it's just not cutting it, okay? And their conclusion was, due to the poor aerodynamic characteristics of the studied artifact, it cannot be confirmed within the scope of the study that the bird of Saqqara is a product of ancient aerodynamic knowledge. The artifact has a very high parasite drag with only low lift at the same time. In addition, the pressure distribution as well as the location of the center of gravity and aerodynamic center with respect to each other suggest poor flight stability characteristics. A straight trajectory is therefore not possible. The artifact would perform an uncontrolled rolling motion, which in combination with the pitching moment would result in a stall, even without considering the moment balance. The artifact does not have good gliding characteristics, which also excludes its use as a hand glider. Additional simple hand throwing tests would have been possible to perform in ancient Egypt, and with an understanding of aerodynamics would have quickly revealed opportunities for optimization. Okay? Dynamic at all. So now we scratch our heads. And this is why my perspective totally changed. So what I've come up with is the information given of the artifact's provenance as presented doesn't appear to exist. And all we really know is verifiably that Victor Loret found it around 1899, somewhere north of Saqqara. It's made of wood, sycamore, small. It was on the end of a stick, and it does have a vertical tail. Why? There are a couple explanations, which leaves us with, what about the test on ancient aliens? Well, if I could figure out the whole copyright thing and fair use, I would show it to you, but I'm not going to because I don't want to strike. But you can find it, watch it for yourself. If you look at the model and models of other people who have built remote control Saqqara birds, you will notice they're not exact models. They're idealized and they have proper wings, symmetrical. Okay. They're not directly from the 3D scan trying to find it, fly it. So they've been tweaked a little. So which stands to reason, if this shape was tweaked, it would fly. I mean, that's true with that, of course. Is it, shall we say, evidence of any knowledge of aerodynamics? The bedbug guy says no, it doesn't appear that way. Is it evidence of ancient aliens? Not in this case. What it is, if you know about the Egyptians, is definitely proof that they knew very well how to represent nature and animals. And they carved a falcon. Now, so what's up with the tail on the back? Well, it could be a toy for an unknown reason, but it also could be something else. It could actually be a masthead top for a sailing vessel, which kind of functions as a weather vane to see where the prevailing winds are blowing. Because the other thing is a weather vane. Yes, they would have had those. This is the Ptolemaic period. This isn't the old dynasties of ancient Egypt, pyramids and whatnot. This is Greeks and Romans floating around. Okay, it's relatively new in history. Not exactly the conclusion I expected to come up with in this case, but it is what it is. As usual, if you know something I don't know, please put it in the comments and tell me where I can find it. Please hit the subscribe button. I want to do more live streams with other people. I got one coming up with an interesting other YouTube channel. Once we get that together, it will be interesting. I will do a notification of that first. Also, if you like my cat shorts, those aren't ending anytime soon. The cats are internet famous, and I intend to keep it that way. Other than that, thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Hopefully I did okay in this here live test. Let me know also any advice. Put those in the comments too. All right. Thanks a lot. See you next time. Bye.